If you want to hear and see more content like this, make sure you subscribe and follow. You're listening to the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast, and I'm Lou Temlett. I know you're having a good day because either you've been on the mats, considering getting on the mats, or maybe you're wanting to be involved with every part of Jiu Jitsu. I'm so happy you're here listening or watching this episode. Please don't tap out before the end. When you really don't want to wear a gi, start training Jiu Jitsu. I'd like to welcome Moogie Hayat to my podcast. Hi Moogie, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Very well, thank you. It's nice to see you over the airwaves recording this podcast because we've met officially in person at Quatrolinhas when you were fighting back in August. But I've seen you around on lots of mats, refereeing over the years. Tell me about, I guess, Quatrolinhas to start with, because it was unusual to see you fighting rather than reffing. How was that experience for you?
Yeah, it was good. I think Alexandro was a replacement to somebody else I was going to fight. I do, although a lot of people know me as the ref, I still am an active competitor. Even like this year, I've competed, I think, about 6 times.
Wow.
So I do, I keep myself busy that way. But that was a great experience because that show was the first time I ever had a super fight. And to have the opportunity to fight someone like Alexandro, who's got an amazing track record, you know, he's a 6-stripe black belt as well, which was like, for me, it was like, wow, okay, cool, let's do this. And to really check what my level was at the show. So yeah, it was great, good experience, and obviously meet friends.
It was a very good experience, and we were all rooting for you. But it was so nice to meet you in the high street in Chesham before your super fight. And kind of, you know, when you see familiar faces, it's just so nice with the jiu-jitsu community. It's almost as if we kind of know each other, and all of the kind of the small talk, the preamble is kind of done already because, you know, we see each other, we follow each other's socials, and you know, you were there with your family, I was there with my son. It was just such a great vibe, the whole thing.
It's good because, look, although we didn't really speak before, like that how we kind of like gelled straight away into conversation. It weren't 5 minutes later, we were in the restaurant having food, all of us as well.
Yeah.
So it was nice. We got to sit down, you know, and yeah, it was good. It was good. It was nice.
Yeah. So, of course, we are both Masters 4. You're a black belt, Moogie. I'm a blue belt, learning lots of things that I need to learn in the jiu-jitsu community. But talk to me about your history, because we've kind of got to that stage now, in jiu-jitsu and why you started.
Are you sure you're ready for this?
Go on. Brace yourselves, listeners.
I always enjoyed striking. And back then, there weren't a lot of gyms near where I lived. And then someone said to me that there was, we called it cage fighting, at a leisure centre. And I thought, all right, let me go and check this out. And so I went up to this gym, and there was this short little chubby guy, Iranian guy on the side. And one of the guys said, yeah, look, if you could, like, we'd done a warm-up, showed us some drills. And he was like, yeah, look, just have a light spar with him. And I didn't really get what jiu-jitsu was about, really, that much. And it wasn't with the gi. It was more kind of like wrestling based. But this guy absolutely traumatized me. I did not know what happened. It was like I was being ironed out. It was complete violation. And I've never, ever emotionally felt like that. And so I wanted to come back for some more. And so I started to train, but I was more MMA based.
Yeah.
Not a lot going on the ground. But mind you, jiu-jitsu back then, it was something that was becoming a bigger trend. And I went on to have my first MMA fight, which I lost to a Brazilian guy who rear naked choked me. Yeah. So that was kind of a little wake up call for me. And my coach said, "Look, try some jiu-jitsu, proper jiu-jitsu." And I was
Yeah.
one of the guys that always took the mick out of everyone wearing gis and like wearing their pajamas and, what is this you're doing? But
Yeah.
he said, do it for a month. And, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, I won't ever ask you again. And
Fair.
through that month, I was being choked out and tapped out and, actually really felt a bit of the full force of what jiu-jitsu was all about. And it kind of
Yeah.
got me hooked then after that.
What
And I
what do
started
you
jiu-jitsu.
I'm just gonna pause you, but what is it you think kind of drives you to learn more by completely, as you say, getting ironed out or, you know, coming up against opponents that know more than you? What makes you want more of what MMA or jiu-jitsu in this sense?
But if we look at just jiu-jitsu, it was like there's so much to know. And when you think you know, you actually don't because there's more that can be added to it. And it feels
Yeah.
like it's infinite. And I've always wanted to chase that infinite pathway because I don't know, it just kind of like drew me in so much more than the striking because I loved boxing.
Yeah.
But I just faded out of that, and went all in with jujitsu. I just couldn't understand that how someone could, even a lighter person could just dominate you when you're on the
Yeah.
ground and you feel like helpless. And
Yeah.
it just kind of opened my eyes up to so much. It's not just physically,
Yeah.
it's the soul. It's the soul.
Yeah.
um on,
Do
on
you, do
on
you
that
think
level
it's
it kind.
do you think it's about
Sorry.
that do you think it's about not knowing and the fact that
Yeah.
somebody else can kind of help you learn more? It's that I can learn that. So that the kind of desire and energy for knowing more about life and jujitsu life, I guess.
Well, jiu-jitsu life and real life, because it kind of helps you discover like better versions of yourself through the journey of jiu-jitsu, I reckon, for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm always, it doesn't matter whether it's just one session, but I'd always come back that little increment of a better person, whether it's on the mats or
Yeah.
whether outside in the real world, for sure.
Nice. Sorry to have interrupted you. You've just dropped a number of gems there, Moogie. Carry on with your jujitsu journey and this whole, um, talking about the gi
Uh,
and maybe not wanting
yeah,
to
yes.
train in the gi.
Yes, I did want to put it on, and then like when I was being like choked out and everything, it kind of I just got hooked on it, and I just wanted to know more. But in the process, I was married, I had kids as well growing up. I started jiu. I got my blue belt when I was 27. So, and I had my
Oh,
blue belt all the way up till 36 because my kids were growing up. They got
yeah,
into jujitsu, so I started spending time with them. Um, but then, as life went on, I literally I moved. I was living in Dubai for 2.5 years, and I was training out there as well. And then I knew that when I moved back, exactly what I wanted and how
yeah,
it was going to improve my life, my family's life. And I knew that when I come back, I'm going to live near a jiu-jitsu gym, and me and my boys will go training as much as possible. But I didn't know
yeah.
where it was going to take me, but I knew it was going to be a better place for sure. I
Mm.
knew that, but I
So,
just didn't know
so
where.
being a blue belt for that number of years, I know a number of guys, having relationships, maybe they're married,
Yep.
they're thinking about having
Uh-huh.
kids. How much does that kind of um, put a pause, not a complete stop, unless you're one of the blue belts that decides never to come back, and we hope you do come back. But how were you just kind of balancing that, or were you really focused on supporting your
Uh,
family at that point?
so so I was focused on my family. However, I knew that I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I just didn't know how long that tunnel was. Right.
Yeah,
I knew that I was going to come back to jujitsu, but I had responsibilities that needed to be
yeah,
taken care of. So, and as my kids grew up, I was spending a lot of time taking them training, which didn't allow me to go back training because a little bit of the distance, take them, then come home, then go again. But I also had my family
Yeah.
life, my work, and so
Yeah.
I prioritized obviously the kids as they were growing up. But
Yeah.
it kind of kept me in it through my kids. Um,
Yeah.
because as they were growing up, they were training, they were competing. And then I knew that I was going to come back, but I just needed to first, I needed to cover a bit of ground with my family. And then
Yeah.
then I'll cross that bridge when I get there for me. I knew I was going to come back to it. I just didn't know
Yeah.
exactly when. And it was 36 years old when I moved back from Dubai when it was, I
Yeah.
knew exactly where life was. I knew exactly where I was going to go, what I was going to do, how I was going to do it. But where it was
I
going to
love
take
the
me,
fact that
I didn't know.
you had that vision and you knew you'd always come back to jiu-jitsu. Having that
Yeah,
long-term
yeah,
focus on a result and knowing that you can come back is kind of it's kind of supporting lifestyle, maybe not 24/7, but knowing that you can kind of come back to it and keep growing. How has it
yeah.
supported you since coming back to the UK and kind of kids growing up and you
So
starting your training again?
I, I, when I came back, I joined up at Checkmat in Gravesend, Checkmat VN Studio Martial Arts. Back then, they were called DFC, and they've just kind of expanded over the years. And I used to train at Combat Sports Academy in Strood, but the journey again was too far for me
Yeah.
from where I lived. So I wanted to be close to my family, which was in Gravesend at the time. And then Studio Martial Arts now, it was literally under 5 minutes from my house. So it just kind of made sense that I joined that gym. And I joined that as a blue belt. Um, and then I went in as I was helping out. I didn't want nothing for it. I just wanted to be around jiu-jitsu, help out with
Yeah.
classes, whatever it was. I was with my kids as well. It helped a good connection, a good bonding with my boys,
Yeah.
with training. I wish I had a girl, to be honest, as well, to get her into jiu-jitsu, but
Yeah.
that didn't happen. So yeah, and then I just stayed in that jiu-jitsu environment where I was amongst, really great people. That's still there today, obviously the coaches as well.
Yeah.
And that helped me support me through growing in jiu-jitsu for me and for my kids and
Yeah.
for me to find like getting into the competition side as well because I was an active
Yeah.
competitor through all of my belts up until now.
I lo- I love that. How important do you think it is for anyone, for families, to be part of the jiu-jitsu community? If there's the kids training or the parents training, how much value does it offer families?
I think it's you can't even put that into words, the value and the connection that it can bring. Because look, with the society today, or there's beginning more bigger gaps between children and parents,
Yeah.
and to bring that together, you need to find a common ground. And so, like, I don't like playing on games. I don't like gaming,
Yeah.
but two of my kids liked gaming. So then now there's no connection there, and then I can't say let's go to the park or let's just go out to eat, you
Yeah.
know, because you're not connecting really on an emotional level. And now I get to spar my boys, you
Yeah.
know, we have a lot to talk about all the time, and even now, like oh, don't we kind of like well the jujitsu side we're hanging around together.
Yeah.
We do the same. Like this weekend, we was all the way up at ADCC in Manchester. Then we went to All Stars up in Cheshire the day after. The whole weekend we was together, and it was
Yeah.
brilliant. We had a great weekend. They competed. They made podium, gold and silver, and so we had a lot to talk about. The training side. I think the bonding itself that brings families together,
Yeah.
parent and child together, is
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's brilliant,
I
without a
hadn't
doubt, and I
actually
recommend it to everybody.
I hadn't thought about it with we all, like you say, the kids are doing their gaming or whatever it happens to be. And then, what are the parents doing? How can we have activities that are shared activities? It's not like
Connect.
I mean, when I was growing up, Moogie, my parents used to go off and play rounders, and there used to be a whole group of them, and the families used to go. So rounders was a thing, certainly in the summer
Yeah, yeah.
months, not in the winter,
Uh-huh.
but it's kind of that outside activity. I don't play rounders today. I don't know anywhere that I can go and play rounders. So if anyone knows anywhere, but it's finding that physical activity that can be a community family focused thing, maybe not in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same classes,
exactly.
but having that connection. And just we know teenage boys, it's so hard if we don't have a kind of shared connection to kind of keep the communication open. And if we can
Yeah,
find something like jiu-jitsu to open the conversation, even as a starting point. So when things get a bit tougher for them, or even the girls, we can have those conversations because we're already talking on the same wavelength about other things. I think
absolutely.
it's a great
Absolutely.
opportunity. Um, so this is going out in November, but and we're recording at the back end of September. So talk to me about ADCC and the kind of the other events this weekend.
Oh, right. So I'll tell you what, I got a great story to tell you. And totally inspirational, mind blowing. And I'm going to name this guy as well because he's someone that should be known out there. And his name is Archie Hare. He fought in a division with my son, and he's completely blind, and he had to get walked on
Yep,
to the mat, and they had to start in clinch position.
yep.
This boy went on to win gold. He tapped my son out with a
Wow.
rear naked choke. Yeah. And he tapped out the other guy with a rear naked choke. And the way he felt his way through the fight, he
Yep,
literally dominated both fights. Obviously, I wanted my son to win, but that's not the point. The thing was
yep,
the inspiration. What I saw out there was absolutely phenomenal. That a
yep,
guy like that could there's no he didn't look for felt sorry for himself or anything, he was a guy that was buzzing from the gift of life, appreciated what he got and made the
yep.
most of it, and he stood up there on that podium in first place, and I thought it was amazing, really, really, really amazing, amazing.
Thank you
um
for sharing that story. We all have the opportunity to train jiu-jitsu. We all have the opportunity to compete, but to show up in our fullest confidence, whoever we are, is takes some level of commitment and confidence in the first place. But it sounds like
yeah.
this guy was there.
Oh, totally, it was the way he kind of like carried himself. He was a humble guy, but my boy was saying, Dad, he was the hardest guy that I've actually fought and competed against this year. He
Wow.
goes, like technically, he dominated, um, and his strength, he said all of it, Dad. He goes, it was just no comparison. So
Wow.
that's like a big up to Archie Hare, because I'll tell you what, he's a great inspiration to this whole jiu-jitsu community.
Congratulations,
Totally.
Archie. We will be tagging you and collaborating in Moogie's conversation. Um,
Archie Hare underscore BJJ, I think is his Instagram.
I will be
So
tagging
check him
him.
out.
Amazing. So ADCC as well as All Stars.
Yep. Yep. So, well, we're finishing with ADCCs here. So my son went on to, one of my boys won bronze, and then
Yep,
the older one, Zane, he went on to win the adult pro, which was great. So
yep,
that was his first ADCC gold at adult pro. He's been working really hard for that.
yep,
And then obviously then after that, it was the next day we drove up to Cheshire, and then we was all working at All Stars. I was supervisor running the show, and Zane referee, and Mohammed, my little one, he was a scorer. But then there was a pull out. Actually, this is another good story. There was a pull out, and a guy, he was 69 kilos. I think he was 15 years old, I think, or
yep.
16, and he didn't have any opponent. So, me being the bad dad that I am, I said, "Do you want to fight my son? He's a yellow belt, he's like 52 kilos. So if you're up for it, and the guy was like 52 kilos, I was like, he goes, all right, cool. And I said, I'll put you in another division as well, just so that you don't have to go home without any fights. So I was really impressed again from my younger son. He went out and it was the best of three. And I can't remember, he kind of drew in a bit of a crowd as well. That there was like such a big boy versus a small kid. That kid did. He said he'd only been training 6 or 9 months anyway. So, but my boy's been training. He has been training a lot longer. But there's nearly 16, I think, kilos or 17 kilos difference. It's quite big.
Yeah.
It was quite a big difference, and he put on a good show. He won the first, lost the second, and then went on to win the finals. So it was great. Great to see the power of jiu-jitsu when you've got someone a lot bigger, a lot stronger, with some knowledge against a much lighter child. That his man strength isn't even kicked in yet. And the way he kind of like went through the process of jiu-jitsu to get the win was absolutely great to watch.
Nice.
But it was a good day as well.
I love how proud you are of your kids. And if you've seen Moogie on the mats reffing, and you kind of there's a moment, do go and say hello, because I missed the opportunity at Endure Professional back in the summer, Moogie. I was sat on the front row. I kind of knew who you were. I was following you on socials, and I was like, do I go and say hello? Do I not? And I kind of wish I had. But to hear how proud you are as a dad and as, you know, a kind of fellow practitioner, black belt, you know, all bow down to Moogie. Just the pride and respect that you have for everyone on the mats, your family, kind of extended family, and the whole community is
Massively,
beautiful. We will talk about kind of some more things after the break. This episode is sponsored by Mat Masters UK. Mat Masters UK is one of the fastest growing London BJJ events, now on its third outing for the upcoming Mat Masters London Open 3 on April 12th, 2026. For those competitive adults and children wanting one arena, multiple mats, and no excuses. You'll experience round-robin gi and no-gi matches, cash prizes, and the Savage John Wick division, where warriors come to win or get finished. Go and register your place today over on SmoothComp and follow at MatMasterUK over on Instagram. One arena, multiple mats, no excuses. This is the Jiu-Jitsu Lou podcast with me, Lou Temlett, coming to you from the UK. Keep checking out the clips that drop as soon as I've recorded an episode, usually way before it gets released, over on YouTube and Instagram, and now on TikTok. Today, I'm having a conversation with Moogie Hayat. Moogie, before we started recording, you mentioned about supporting those individuals, maybe usually white belts, that feel a sense of overwhelming emotion and defeat at competitions. Talk to me about how you support athletes, competitors.
There's been many occasions, so many where when whether I'm a ref or a head ref, and I kind of see, and it's happened times, especially if someone's got no support there, they rock up at a tournament, and even if they have and they're with their parents, first time experience in a tournament, the nerves can get the better of you. They sometimes get the better of you, even at a blue, purple, brown, black belt. It can happen at any time. But for the guys that compete first time, I've seen it where they'll be sitting there on the side and it looks like they're just questioning their whole life. And it's always worth, to just give a few minutes to sit down and just have a chat to them, because it can really change the dynamics of their mindset. When you can reach out, relate and connect. And I always say to them, like, if someone's lost and they're white belts, they've just started, even if it's the kids, I'll say to them, I'm like, look, you wouldn't be here. If you wasn't upset that you lost, you shouldn't be here.
Yep.
By you being upset shows to me that you really care and that you want to get good. And I'll say this to the kids or the adults, right? When they've just started getting into jiu-jitsu, or even if they're, at blue belt or purple belt, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's heartbreaking when we lose. And it's nice just to give them those words to make them understand, connect, and say, look, I know what it feels like. I've been there, but you know what? Don't give up. You only fail when you stop trying in life. So don't stop trying, because only something good will come out of this. If it
Yep.
was that easy, everybody would be doing it. It's not that easy for us to go out as athletes or as a beginner to go out,
Yep.
to go and compete, get soul broken, and then to pick yourself back up and turn back up at the gym on a Monday morning.
Yep.
It's do you know, when I lost my MMA fight, it took me 6 months to get back into the gym, my first
Wow.
MMA fight, because it dented my ego and my pride, and I had to really question why I wanted to do it,
Yep.
why I had that fight. And the reality was, I had it because I'd done it to impress my friends and my family, and I never done it for myself. And when I changed that mindset
Yep.
and know why I'm doing it, and that is not to win, but to constantly find a better version of myself, is going to
Yep.
be in that place where I don't want to be when I'm under pressure, because that's going to help me fight my way back out of it.
Yep.
And I've stuck with that through my life. And that is exactly what I share with everybody every single time. You might not win the battle, but the war still goes on, and you will win that war. Battles will be lost in between.
Yeah. That's such fantastic advice. And I think all of us have had that, kind of moment of defeat,
Yeah,
because it really does feel hard when you lose a match, especially
yeah.
in competition. And some of us can kind of brush off how our emotions and kind of suppress them. But how important is it to kind of feel what's going on to then kind of take the next step?
Um, so it's look, you can't, you don't forget about it. You
Yeah.
kind of like absorb it, and you use that energy and those feelings, and you go back to the gym. You look at the things that you've done wrong. You ask your coaches, you ask your friends,
Yeah.
how, what, why, when and where. You ask these questions,
Yeah.
and it's so important for that coach to say, look, there's this, there's that. It's not your jujitsu. It was probably your mindset. You hesitated here,
Yeah.
and so on and so on.
Yeah.
We need to start getting rid of that. Those nerves, don't use them in the flight department. Put them in the fight department. It's your fuel to fight. You
Nice.
know. So there's a lot. Jiu-jitsu is not just about, let's learn a technique. It's learning about implementing it. It's a
Yeah.
learning. There's the inner part of your body, part of it, the mental side of it. There's a lot of things that go on it, because look, it's all good when you're fresh for the first few minutes,
Yeah.
but when you're starting to get tired, that is when you start to find who you really are. That's when you start to dig deep,
Yeah.
to improve yourself in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So it, yeah,
The
yeah,
reason
I
why
would
I
say,
asked, so I had my first competition. I'm sure anyone that's been listening to the show will know that it was in Barcelona, and I guess I kind of went, "Oh, it's okay." I lost both matches, and I kind of suppressed some of those emotions and didn't really then reflect and find the fire to kind of fix, learn, ask those questions, because I felt like I didn't know how to ask or didn't know what to ask.
yeah, yeah,
It,
yeah,
I
which is
just kind
easily
of
done.
I took it on board and kind of muted everything about it, and I was like, "Oh, I just did it." But I kind of feel from listening to you that to kind of feel those emotions, you can then get help to progress more. That if you kind of
Yeah,
brush things off and minimize what experience you've had, then that doesn't always serve us.
yeah. Bring it to the surface. Bring everything to the surface. It's so important to bring it all. Look, we have to let the ego
Yeah,
side of us go. We have to,
yeah,
for us to find that better version of ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to go deeper into the rabbit hole, right, to find that better version of ourselves. Otherwise, we're never ever going to improve. Never. You
Love it.
can't, because you're not prepared to take that leap.
Yeah.
And you have to bring it all to the surface, right? And it hurts sometimes, but
Yeah.
it's important that we talk about these things. That's is exactly what's going to help you improve.
Love it. Such great advice. There's more gold here, Moogie. Let's talk about your competition experience because you fought at every belt level. How have
Yeah.
how have you kind of dealt with the learning, the progress, the successes over the years?
Well, shall I tell you a funny story? When I was a blue belt,
Go on.
right? So this was at the English Open, and so when we got to the event, so this is when I started to proper compete, and um, we got to the car park, and there was my friend and my son Zane, and I was like, I'm not going inside, and they said, what? And I've gone, I'm not fighting, I'm going home, and they're like, you can't do that, and I've gone, yeah, I can do what I like. I'm going home. I'm not fighting. I can't do this. Like
Sheesh.
panic setting on a whole new level, right? And I didn't think, when I reflect on that, I'm like, was that really me? And and I was like, no, you got to do this. You got to do this. So anyway, they convinced me to go in and us
Yeah.
to have one fight. There was 3 fights on the bracket for gold, and so I've gone in. And I said, all right, look, I'll do one fight and that's it. And I was like, all right, Dad, look, just do one fight and you don't have to do anything else. So I don't know how, Lou, I don't know what, but they put my hand up at the end, right? And I was like, oh, all right, I won. I don't even know how, right? But the win went my way.
Wow.
And then I come off and I was a bit tired. And I was like, all right, look, get ready. Look, that's a bronze. You've just got the bronze, Dad. You can go for the silver. I said, I don't want the silver. I want to go home now. And I was like, Dad, come on. And my mate's like, get a grip. Stop being an idiot. Come on, you got to do this. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I said, I'm done. And they're like, come on, just one more, just one more. And after pushing me around, I was like, all right, cool. I'll do one more and then I'm done. We're going home. And I was like, all right, cool. So they've taken me, so I've gone out, had the second fight.
Yeah.
Again, don't even know how. I've won. They put my hand up. I had an advantage somehow. And
Love it.
now I've come off and I'm laying on the floor, sweating. My arms are aching. They're massaging my arms, and I'm like, I'm done now. I want to go home. I want to go home. And they're like, one more for gold. I said, I do not want the gold, right? I want to go home. Right, and they're like, no, you got to look, one more, one more. Anyway, again, I was saying to them, I'm not doing it. And as I've stood up off the floor, they've called my name. They pushed me onto the mat, right? And I've gone, you got to go and do it. So I've looked at them and I've gone, I'm going to go and lose. And they was like, go and lose. I said, all right, you watch. I'm going to go and lose. They said, go and lose. And I was like, all right, cool. So the fight started. And what happened? I freaking won, didn't I? And again, it was just, I don't even know how. It was just more of a scrap. I don't even know what. But I ended up
Love
winning
it.
and winning my first gold medal. And
Wow.
yeah, it was brilliant. So that
There's
was
hope.
blue.
There's hope for us all. I just want to pause there. So when because I love these stories. It's like you never quite know what story you're going to get when you speak with Moogie. But when I ask my kids, I go, let's just do one, and they go, I know what you're doing, Mum. I know what you're doing. But clearly you hadn't got that memo as a kid, and being kind of drawn in. Let's just do one, and
Nothing.
they were using your
Nothing.
tactics against you, Moogie.
Oh, it's brilliant. Do you know, it was so brilliant that out of all the fights that I can remember, a lot of the fights, I always remember that day because it just sticks in my memory over a lot of the other fights that I've had over the
Oh,
years. That's the one that stuck in my head the most, was that
yeah.
blue belt fight.
Nice.
Yeah,
I
it was
like
brilliant.
the fire of actually not wanting to do it, but having people around you, family, and just go, come on, you can do this. Just one, just do one
Yeah,
fight, and then you're kind of left with the goal, but not really knowing.
yeah, I was
But
falling apart.
love it. I love it. Yeah, that shows kind of resilience, getting up and just going for
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
and
exactly.
maybe not actually knowing what you're doing, but you do know what you're doing, a little bit, I guess, at blue belt because you got the
Yeah,
gold.
yeah,
Some of us have
yeah.
still got a long way to gain. But talk to us about purple.
Purple. So purple was good. I won Abu Dhabi Grand Slam at Copper Box Arena. Um,
Nice.
Most of my purple belt I won IBJJF, I think Amsterdam, London Fall, and then I'd done a whole load of AJP, Abu Dhabi Jiu Jitsu Pro Tours, then
Yeah.
finishing it off with the Grand Slam. So I had a good run in gi as a purple belt, winning, stacking up some. I competed, I think, about 6 or 8 times
Wow.
as a purple belt.
Yeah.
Most of the belts I was 6 to 8 times. I wanted to have a good run. After that, even in blue belt, I still done, I think it was maybe 4 or 6 events. Probably got about 3 golds, a silver, a
Yeah.
bronze. I think I lost one as well. Then I went on to purple, and I had a really good run as a purple belt. I had my losses on the way as well, um, but I had a good career in purple belt gi
Is
for
this where
sure.
you started your kind of ranking at AJP?
Yeah, it was. Purple belt is it's I kind of like knew I had a good coach, good mentor in jiu-jitsu, which is I'll bring his name up, which is Val Mianetto. Because he's a great competitor as well. I always say that you're only as good as your leader. And we had a great leader in our gym. Well, not had, we still do. He leads by good example, that
Yeah.
he's an active competitor. I think he's still currently ranked #1 in England under IBJJF.
Wow.
He went on to win the Pan Ams. We went to the Pan Ams earlier this year. I lost. And he went on to take out the top seed, and
Wow.
um, yeah, great example for us really as as a coach. So
Yeah.
he's kind of been that driving force that's supported not just me but a lot of other guys in the gym,
Yeah.
finding, again, coming back to that, finding that better version of themselves
Yeah.
by encouraging them to come out to compete and get good
When you,
physically and mentally.
thank you for sharing that. When you are refing kind of super
Yeah,
fights invitationals, and you're seeing the purple belts and the blue belts, and kind of brown and black as well. But
yeah.
how do you kind of get a sense for reflecting on your own journey, or are you what's going through your mind when you're kind of
Well,
refing those matches?
when what I see the evolution of jiu-jitsu, how much it's changed since I've been doing it
Yeah.
it's it's insane. The I would say like the blue belts of today are
Yeah.
like the late purple belts of when I was younger.
Okay.
Because it's jiu-jitsu's literally exploded. It's
Yeah.
exploded. I remember when I used to take my kids for comps, there weren't perfect matchups. Um, it'd be hard to find a lot of competitions
Yeah.
to go for competition, to go and compete. You go on Smooth Comp now.
Mm.
There's 1 or 2 every single weekend throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
And if it's we've got across the world, you could literally go on Smooth Comp or go on to another platform, IBJJF or AJP, and
Yeah.
you can literally pick a country if you want to go and compete. It's the dynamics of jujitsu for the what I see now in like the super fights
Yeah.
is completely different to what it was when I was younger. Completely,
Nice. And
they're
I
a lot
think
more
we're kind of
skillful.
I think we're going to kind of come through another progression. Maybe in another 10 or 20 years, we'll be even further down the line with progress and
Absolutely,
kind of ability, which is really exciting, actually, to reflect on the fact that this isn't the start. The start was a while ago, but it's
yeah,
kind of exponential and getting even greater, more skillful, more ability, more everything,
absolutely.
um, which is just gonna throw up all sorts of incredible outcomes for the future, and all
Look,
positive.
look at the kids.
Yeah,
Look
I
at
know.
the
I
kids.
know.
Man, their jiu-jitsu is something out of this world. You're just looking at that and you're like,
Yep.
oh my God, the sheer skill. Even look, coming back to that blind guy, the
Yeah.
sheer evolution. Look,
Yeah.
you coming back to Archie, right?
Yeah.
Look at that. That as an evolution of jiu-jitsu,
Mm.
right? He's now opened up another dimension of jiu-jitsu that
Yep.
he's fighting this martial arts blindly, and he's created a new doorway of fighting through it
Yep.
and through touch and feel and without vision.
Yep.
So look at that as an evolution itself, by
Yep.
itself. That he didn't enter he didn't enter into a jiu-jitsu tournament of disabilities. He went all in.
Yep.
He went all in and look, come out victorious. So whether it's the kids' evolution or you look at evolution from that side,
Yep.
jiu-jitsu's kind of gone, it's exploded
Yeah.
completely in a great way.
It has. It has. Okay. Let's kind of reflect a little bit on brown and black belt, and kind of where you are
Cool.
now. And yeah.
So brown belt again. I went on. I competed quite a lot. Traveled Barcelona,
Yep.
AJP, Amsterdam. I travelled around a lot with Val Mianetto to compete around the world as well.
Yep.
Brazil. I was out in Brazil.
Wow.
That was amazing. I got to. Do you know what? As a brown belt, this was as well. I got to teach in the favelas, which
Wow.
was one of the most amazing experiences. I've been out a few times to Brazil.
Yep.
I've competed out there, IBJJF, black belt no-gi, and as AJP as a brown belt. And then I went on to win Grand Slam, sorry, as a brown belt at Copper Box Arena as well. So I had a good comp run as a brown belt. Had some of my losses.
Yep.
Obviously, we need those losses. Without those losses, we're not going to kind of get the grit on and get on the mats and train harder to improve to go to the next one.
Yep.
So that was a good run. That was a really good run as a brown belt. And yeah, and obviously I was refing from a purple belt, to be honest,
And
all the way through.
how did you kind of start your reffing kind of thing? Because at the beginning of the show, um, you know, I mentioned about being involved with all parts of jiu-jitsu community and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
kind of wanting to kind of understand more and be part of things. But talk to me about where the reffing started.
So I wanted to just be in. Like I said to you, I wanted to know everything about jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
So I started as a runner, just name calling in comps. Then I was
Yep.
point scoring. Point scoring is a really good way to learn reffing because you're watching referees score and you're
Yep.
working with different referees and you're observing how they score fights. It's one of the
Ah,
most, I think it's the best way to learn to be a referee, other than just through books.
yep.
Or just to be a referee. I think if you're a point scorer and stay as a point scorer for like 6 months,
Yep.
and on the back of that, do your refs course, right? Because then you can start putting that together. And then it was with Grappling Industries, they actually gave me my first opportunity. And it was a great way for me to learn to be a ref because there was no advantages. It was just points and penalties.
Yep.
So
Nice.
it was a really good way to learn because it takes that pressure off. Because advantages can be sometimes quite tricky to give and how you value them. But like
Yep.
points, they're points, and penalties, they're
Yep.
easy. It's easier. You're just taking one big thing off that you don't have to kind of
Yep.
like add into like the scoring.
Yep.
So Grappling Industries, they were great. Big up to Josh, who gave me that opportunity, and Charles from Grappling Industries. And they gave me that opportunity to start reffing and kind of like stretch out from there, really.
Yeah, and nine years on, you are reffing pretty much every weekend.
Yeah, ref every weekend for All Stars. I'm a head ref for All Stars. I've
Yeah,
been a head ref now a couple of times for Reorg and All Stars London, not Grappling Industries London,
Yeah.
They've also started to let me last 4 or 5 events be the head ref down there as well. So
Nice.
it's been great. I also started my own event as well, which is called Mat Masters. Um,
Ah,
it's not just
yes.
it's not just for masters. It's just we called it Mat Masters.
Yep.
Who wants to be the master of the mats? But I have a John Wick division as well. So I have a
Yep.
normal division, which I like to follow the IBJJF rule set. I
Yep.
think because they've got the most vigorous, tried and tested uh, rule set. So I always wanted to keep that traditional route of jiu-jitsu
Yep.
there because it's got good structure. But then I chucked in the John Wick division, which was
Okay.
kind of like you win a John Wick belt, and the rules are kind of a little bit. It's it doesn't matter if you're white, blue, purple, brown, or black belt.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what weight you are. The only thing you're not allowed to do is spike on the head, but everything else goes free for all. And there's a cash
Amazing.
prize at the end of it.
I was going to ask, what is meant by John Wick, but you've just kind of explained. I'm not that much of a
Free for
movie
all.
buff. Bring it
And
on.
everyone
Bring
loves
it on.
that name, the John Wick division, because they're always intrigued. Like, what do you mean it's called the John Wick division? And I'm like, well, it's free for all. They're like, what do you mean free for all? And I'm like, right, basically, it doesn't matter what belt you are, what weight you are, or what sub you do, as long as you don't spike on the head, everything goes. And they're like,
Oh,
oh, that sounds cool. And I literally I had about 20 sign-ups for the John Wick division on the first event, and it
nice.
was amazing. It was brilliant. It was amazing. Good
And is
event.
this for guys, or do you have a
Oh no,
girls?
no, we have guys and girls. It's actually called the John Wick.
Nice.
Someone said call it Jane Wick, or what? There was another thing, but I can't remember what that name was. And I've gone, look, let's just keep it as it is for now,
Yeah,
because
but
I didn't get
we know
many
what we
sign-ups
mean.
for the girls. Yeah,
But we
exactly. But we wanted,
maybe.
we want, what's that?
Well, we can
What the
start
name?
promoting it, and yeah, I mean,
What,
I'm
Jane
not
Wick?
precious about anything. No, I don't know. I mean, we need to do some googling on checking. If anyway, you never know when you come up with names.
Chung Li, the Chung Li event. I don't know, something from Street Fighter. I just wanted. It would be good to have a girls
Yeah.
like some serial killer. She got to be jujitsu based because John Wick was jujitsu.
Okay.
So it'd be good
Fine.
to have
Thank you for
a John
educating
Wick
me.
version of it.
We will find someone, or a
We
name
need
for
to
it.
find a
But
female jujitsu superstar that we can
all
like
right.
add that name to.
We can do that.
So
But I think it's just knowing about these things, because some of us have a lot of fears. Certainly, I'm talking from my own experience about trying to find enough people to fight in our own divisions. But if it's a free for
yeah,
all, it's just kind of getting out there and going, well, I'll have a little go. And it doesn't, yes, it matters, but actually it's having a go and kind of boosting our confidence to do these tough things, because
absolutely.
I think that's probably for me and my personality. It sounds like that's a starter for 10. Actually, if I'm just in the mix of, anyone and just going for it, well, the outcome will be the outcome.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. We're doing kids absolute, but we're doing cash prizes. So it kind of
Nice.
incentivizes that look, there's cash prizes there for the kids as well. That
Yeah.
way, look, they can win like 100 quid, and look, that can go towards their next event, and that can go
Yeah.
towards their next key or something like that. So it gives them
Yeah.
something to kind of think, look, if I train hard, I could
Yeah.
potentially win that. That could go towards that. And then it helps the kids grow and develop into like mature mindsets of, look, I need to work to get what I want,
Yep.
instead of a lot of kids that are growing up now that are a lot more entitled, that they
Yep.
feel that it should be given to them. This, oh God, for a kid to enter an absolute division and win prize money, they're like, I
Yep.
had to have so many fights and I had to do this and I had to do that. And now that's going to go towards that. So it gives
Yep.
even, that's how I kind of like thought about it. It was not
It's good.
for me to catch and collect, but more for the kids to think, how can I bring something great into jiu-jitsu that will help children grow up to be better people.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you as
And
well. I'm also a PE teacher on the sideline, and I teach jiu-jitsu in a
oh,
boarding school where I've made the school bring jiu-jitsu into the curriculum, so now they get graded in their GCSEs for jiu-jitsu. So I
amazing.
brought that into a school. I've been there for 10 years, and I've kind of 8 years, I think. And it just started as something small, but now I've got the trustees and everybody involved where they've now made it part of the curriculum that the kids have to learn jiu-jitsu and they get graded on it.
Moogie, you do drop these bombshells right at the end of a
I'm
recording, don't you?
sorry, but it just come to my head and I thought, do you know what? It's
Love
something.
it.
It, it's something that needs to be
Yeah.
spoken about because
Yeah.
it's a great what jiu-jitsu's done in that school for
Yeah.
the kids has been amazing, and what it brings, because they're in boarding school all the time. Now they get to work at some events. I bring them out to events. Now they're learning skills,
Oh, wow.
social skills. You know,
Mm.
there's so much that I think it brings into a school where kids are just stuck there and all they're doing is studying or sleeping,
Yeah.
and that's it. So, and it's just kind of brought something, great to the table. And I got the best Ofsted report as well. The teacher said that PE teacher got the best report, and I was like, I'll have that.
You can have all the flowers, Moogie, because you are just an all-round fantastic human, and a
Oh,
black
thank you.
belt. All of the progress, all the things you're doing for the whole of the jiu-jitsu community. You're putting yourself out there, and not just jiu-jitsu within clubs, within your job role. I mean, what a joy to be doing all this and being paid for it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, that was the thing. Before I used to say, "Oh, jiu-jitsu doesn't pay the bills," but you know what? The thing is that when you do something with integrity, honest,
Yep.
passionate, um, and I'll tell you now, I did not ever, ever in my wildest dreams think that my life would end up or go the way it's going, or that I would earn. I'm earning a living from it. I never, ever, ever expected it. It just kind of went that way. And I always say, don't chase money. I always say, even say to my boys, like, look, if you just chase your character, be men of
Yep.
good character, integrity, and work passionate with what you do, everything else will follow. Don't lie and cheat, right? Work with honesty.
Yep.
You'll have stronger foundations as you grow on the long run.
Yep.
And that's it. My boy now, Zane, he's got his own gym. He's teaching. He's doing what he loves doing. And he's earning a living from it.
Nice.
So, and
It,
that's what I'd say to everyone, really.
it's such good advice. And, sometimes it can feel frustrating, kind of working with
Hmm.
integrity and the passion. And there's a lot of hard work. None of this comes without grit and hard work. And you've
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
demonstrated all of this. And, you know, uh, let's just keep going. It's so good.
That's look the rewards that you get on the long run from working honestly
Yeah.
and hard. Look, and I'm talking even let's talk about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Whether it's through competition, you're not going to win a comp if you're just going to train once a week and you think you want all the glory without the grit. You
Yeah.
know, you've got to work hard right from day one, and it's something I always say. Look, treat it as the rest of your life. If you want to constantly find a better version of yourself, then you got to constantly embrace that grind, that grit on a daily basis. And if you're not doing that, then don't expect anything in return.
You are epic, Moogie. I love it. I love it. Right. Thank you. Okay. How can people follow your journey if they're not already? This is the Instagram
um,
thing.
Yeah, Moogie 1978. Everyone's gonna say like. Anyway, my Instagram is. They call me the no caption man. I leave the story up to you to tell it how you want. Whenever I upload pictures or videos, right?
Nice.
You'll never ever see comments. Never ever see a little. I just don't know why. It started as a photo bank, and
Yeah.
then it started as people calling me the no caption man. And I thought, do you know what? Let it go as it is then.
We all love and accept you, Moogie, and I'm looking forward to
Thank you.
seeing you again on the mats at some point. Obviously, whether you reffing and
Absolutely.
maybe me competing or just being part of an event.
You never know. I might be reffing one of your fights one day.
Okay, yeah, I'm scared already. Right, right, go on with you. Have a
Cool.
super day.
You take care.
If you've got this far, thank you so much for listening or watching. Let me know who you'd like to see next on the show. I'm always looking for stories, connections, and growth in the sport of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu from around the world. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I certainly did. Thank you for telling your friends about this show. And as soon as this episode ends, well, listen to the next one. Thanks again for listening. Catch you on the next episode of the Jiu Jitsu Loop podcast.